I want to say hello, everybody, as come with you with our second update on what's going on in the life of the Williamsons. Uh, Continuing these Church Planter Chronicles, being able to provide our family and friends with updates, and wanting to be able to share the exciting news that Jennifer and David have joined us in Knoxville. So all our family is back together again. Well, slightly, because Jonathan and Rebecca are over at Western Carolina as they are working on their schooling, but uh, we are all together for the most part here in Knoxville, as Jennifer and David were able to make that transition up to here last week. Of course, we did have everybody in together over the weekend, so it was great to be able to have all 8 of us together. It's been quite a while since we've been able to experience that, so it did my heart good to be able to have my family all under the same roof over the weekend. They came in to be able to celebrate Elizabeth's birthday last week, so just thankful for that time together with my family, and thankful that we've got Jennifer and David here with us. Of course, with that being said, that means homeschooling starts next week. Of course, I know the public schools have already started back, and the private schools as well, but we're going to be able to start up our homeschooling with Elizabeth, Lydia, Hannah, and even David's going to get in on the action. Plan on doing that next week, so that's going to be a new endeavor and exciting times. We'll see how well that works for us, but just want to be able to give you an update on what's going on in our family, and just thankful for all the prayers and support that you've been giving to us, and just I'm just grateful that they've been able to join us here. It was been some tough weeks there as we were separated, but we were able to manage with God's grace, and thankful again that we're all here together. Wanted also to take time during this update just to kind of answer a question that I heard a couple of different times before we made our move, and maybe even you've wondered it but just not verbalized it to myself. But and that is, what is a church residency, church planting residency? I was talking to somebody before we moved, and they were kind of curious about it, and wanted to know more about it. So I figured, hey, maybe other people want to do that as well. So I want to take that opportunity to kind of just to let you know a little bit of what a residency is all about. First of all, you need to understand that church planting is different than pastoring an established church. I think that was kind of part of the misunderstanding that this individual had, not because of anything bad, but just, people don't know. You don't read up on it, you don't study it, so you just don't know. But church planting is different than pastoring an established church. There's a lot of different things involved, really all the way down to calling. It's just an entirely different calling as far as what you have to do. And no, they don't teach you that in any kind of formal education setting, or at least not in my situation. I think nowadays some seminaries have a church planting residency track or church planting track. But when I was coming through seminary, they didn't have that. There were people that were interested in church planting, and they were planting churches, but there was nothing formal in an educational setting to talk about church planting. And so it's, as I said, 2 totally different animals when you think about it. And so what this residency is doing is embedding me with a church that plants other churches. So I'm able to learn their DNA, kind of observe and reflect on what they're doing, some things that I might need to be doing when it comes to planting a church. And like I said, you don't get that in formal training. At least I didn't coming through there. They didn't teach us how to do that in seminary. They just focused on pastoring churches. So this gives me that opportunity to learn from a church that has been doing it. Providence Church is about 25 years old, and they've planted about 25, 30 churches. There's actually 4 churches right here in the Knoxville area that they are at different stages of their planting. Some have been in existence about 10 years. There's another one that's actually going to be starting up this coming spring. So it's going to give me an opportunity to not just learn from Providence, but also to be able to learn from these other churches that are in the area, and just to be able to really get in on the ground level and see how things transpire there. And so the idea is I get to ask questions, I get to see what they're doing, I get to learn about the nuts and the bolts of how to put a church plant together. So all of that is really what a residency is. So, other professions have residencies where it's kind of on-the-job training, and that's what this really is. And it also gives me an opportunity to begin to work on putting together a process for the start of the Asheville plant that we're hoping to do next year. As I begin to think about vision and core values and our mission, where is it that we want to be? What is it that we want to accomplish? As I envision what the church might look like 10 years from now, what's it going to take to be able to get there? So there's some of that programmatic side of it, some of the the pragmatics of putting together a church plant, and all the logistics that go into play there. So that's really what this next year is going to look like. It gives me an opportunity to come alongside others that are already doing it and to be able to learn from them. So kind of think of it as an apprenticeship, if you will. And so, we've been here for a month already, and I've been able to learn some things already. I've had the opportunity to sit down with Providence Connections director and kind of learn their steps, their process of from first-time guest all the way through them becoming members and what that looks like. And of course, I'm familiar with a lot of that from my own experience and with experiences with other churches and talking with pastor friends and that sort of thing. But the idea is I'm going to be able to sit down with each ministry area within Providence Church and kind of see how Providence does things. And obviously, just like in anything that we do as human beings, take what's good, take what works for you, and probably leave some things behind that might not work in our context as we go to Asheville. But had that opportunity to sit down with their connections director. I've begun to really think about how to turn the vision that I have for the Asheville plant into reality. As I said, what's that 10-year goal, and how do we get there from here, and what some of those things might look like. Been thinking about what it means to be a multiplying church, a church planting church, because that's really something I want to see in our DNA. It's something that's beneficial for our Free Will Baptist denomination. It's something that I think is biblical, but the idea that we are a church planting church, how do we multiply? How do we do it exponentially, really, as we think about that? So that's the big picture, but also, the little picture, how do we add to our own local body of believers? What does that discipleship process look like? So we're talking about addition on the local level, but we're also talking about multiplication on the kingdom level. And so been starting to think about what that might look like and what are some of the processes that we might need to do to be able to go through all that. And then also, hopefully soon I'll be starting to make some trips over to Asheville. The desire there and the reason for that is to be able to narrow down a location of where the future church might be, and where we really feel like God is calling us and to invest our lives and to be able to invest our ministry. So hope to be able to do that here starting real soon as we begin to make those trips and pray and discern about where it is that God really wants us to be in Asheville. Because if you're familiar with Asheville, you know how diverse it is. If you're not familiar with Asheville, you see all kinds of things, all kinds of people there. As it's been described to me before, and as I've been able to see for myself, you've got the multi-generational mountain families that have been there, going back to the frontier days, and the salt of the earth type people. Then you've got some of the the out of state people that are coming there to retire. It's a nice retirement area, but then you also have that younger kind of hipster bohemian crowd that's being attracted to the culture and the arts that are there. So it's a very diverse area, and it can even change within the matter of blocks of each other. So where is it that the Lord really wants us to be able to minister and make an impact? And that's what we're looking to try to narrow down here in the next couple of months, as we are thinking about where we might land even as a family. And so all that being said, I just want to kind of give you some things to be praying about as we continue to serve in this capacity. One is continue to pray for the spiritual protection over our family, knowing that Satan's not going to be happy with us trying to be light in the darkness. So be asking that the Lord would protect us from His attacks and His schemes as He wants to tear us apart. That our family will be able to stay close together and be able to support each other, knowing that again, Satan loves to come after pastors' families and be able to tear them down. So I would ask that you would pray for that spiritual protection for us. Be praying for the people of Asheville as we are able to begin thinking about making that transition over the next couple of months, that God would begin to prepare hearts. I know He already has, but that He would continue to do so. Be able to pray that we're able to make some connections here. I've had the opportunity to do some volunteer work with Habitat for Humanity, as well as the Second Harvest Food Bank that's here in this area. And so I'm just kind of looking for ways to be able to live on mission. Jennifer is as well. So just be praying for those opportunities to be able to share the gospel even while we're here in Knoxville, not waiting to get to Asheville, but that we can begin to be missionaries here right where God has planned us, knowing that every day that He gives to us is an opportunity to serve Him. So be praying for those people that we'll be meeting through those opportunities. I ask that you would pray that our house would sell. Yes, Jennifer and David have made their way up there, but our house back in Dunn is still up for sale, and the Lord has not brought us any potential buyers at this point. So that is a prayer need for us, that house would sell and that financial obligation would be off the table for us, and that we could continue to move forward here. Again, pray that we would be able to identify the location in Asheville, that it would be clear to us, that the Lord would make it evident to us where it is that He wants us to live and minister for the kingdom when we're there in Asheville. So those are some of the main things that we want you to be praying for us at this time. Again, thank you for the prayer. Thank you for the support that you've shown us, the financial support that continues to come in. We're really humbled by your generosity and what God is doing through you to be able to see the gospel go forward into Asheville. So again, just a huge thank you goes out to all those that have supported us in any way that you have shown to do so over these last couple of months and really even years as you've been there for us. So again, just wanted to give you a quick update and pray that God's blessing will be upon you, and look to update you again real soon.